Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 42 in this series on developing a survival game. This is a final video in section 4B of this series. As a reminder, I am releasing a recap for section 4B alongside this video. In the next video, we'll be moving on to section 4C, which will be our foliage subsection of section 4. In this video, we'll take what we've done so far in the last 3 videos where we've set up our admin notifies, sound cues, and played sounds for when we're walking so that we can also now have footprints show up behind where our character has walked. That said, this series has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors, and that said, open up your project and let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the editor. And in today's video, we're going to set it so that when we walk, we put footprints on the ground. We'll be using decals to do this, but this map is a bit hard to see it on. Even though we have all the materials, it's just how it's angled, everything makes it a little bit more obscure. So we're going to go to our materials test map, because hey, technically we're testing out a decal material. And doesn't really matter where we start. We don't care about the rock because we're actually not going to put it on the rock to begin with. What we're going to do first, though, in terms of getting this set up, is we're going to bring in our footprint textures. So I am going to bring over from our asset folder our footprint. And notice I said footprint, singular. And you might be going, well, we have 2 different footprints. We have a left and a right. How can we only use one? Well, very easy. We're going to flip it around in game. And the reason why we're only using one asset, one mask and one normal for 1 foot, is it's more efficient. In fact, actually, it makes more sense to just have 1 footprint that you reuse, and we can very easily do that. So I'm going to create a texture folder called footprint. Actually, I'll call it footprints even though we only have 1. And I'm going to bring in my 2 footprints here. There we go. And yeah, I do want that to be a normal. And I'll just check the settings in here, make sure everything imported correctly for our mask. And if you want to be really, really pedantic, this is a mask, so we can change this from world to mask. Oh, sorry, not world to mask, it's compression settings. The second time I've done that, by the way. And do mask on this and get rid of the sRGB, which is perfectly fine. We don't need the sRGB. We can save that. We can go to our normal, and we can make sure that it is normal like it said it would be, and it saves. And really on this, we should turn MIPS off, but we'll talk about that down the road. With that done, let's go to our materials, and in our materials, what we'll do is create another folder called footprints. All right, let's pop this open and create a new material called m_footprint. Yeah, now I'm being funny about making it singular, I guess. So in here, we're going to start with this node like usual. We need to change some settings here. It is deferred decal. It is translucent. And we are using debuffer translucent normal. So that falls between translucent color roughness and translucent normal roughness. So we want translucent normal. We want deferred lit, so we're not going to change anything there. I would turn off the cast ray trace shadows if you have that option there. Everything else will remain the same on this. So we only really have 3 things to worry about. Now all of these, we don't care about world offset position at all. Nope. So what we're going to do is we are going to get our footprint, our texture, if I can spell texture right, sample, and we want our just texture sample from down here. We will do this from a shared rep, and we will do our T footprint, T_footprint mask. We'll duplicate this node once and do our T footprint normal. I notice that we have mask on one and normal on the other. So we are compressing a little bit better. So for our opacity, I don't think we can plug directly into there. Will it let us do that way? Oh, it will. Cool. We can plug from our RGB into opacity. We can see that sphere that we had there. If I unplug it, you can kind of see a shadow of a sphere there. Goes away. And the only spot where anything remains is where we have the footprint. Now, if you're running into an issue where this isn't working, you need to check your project settings and make sure that you're able to get your debuffer to work. So the way you can do that is you go back to your main editor window, go to project settings. It's under lighting or rendering, but I always just search for it. Go to all settings, go to debuffer, and it should be debuffer decals. That should be on by default in 4.22 and onwards at least. I'm not sure about before. But if it isn't, make sure that it's marked to true. You will need to restart your engine if it wasn't marked to true already. Now, we could just go from here directly into our normal. And that's going to work perfectly fine. You can see we have a bit more depth to it. But I want to make this a bit more pronounced. I think it's a little bit of a faint effect. So I'm going to do a multiply. And because I'm doing a multiply, I just want to see what this looks like. And I'm going to just hold my 1 key down, plug that 0 into there. Now it's going to be black because we're multiplying this by 0, which makes it black. But we want to make it more intense. So I'm going to go to 3000. And suddenly we have this really intense footprint. By the way, notice that the footprint is the left footprint. Just pay attention to that for a moment. Okay, so we need to set this, and now it's a little bit more intense, by the way, if you haven't noticed. We need to set this to our world space. So we're going to get a texture coordinate, and we are going to multiply this by something. What are we going to multiply it by? Well, we're going to multiply it by our left versus our right foot. Remember, a texture coordinate is just a U tiling and a V tiling. So let's plug that into our U and Vs. So we're setting our U and V values. We don't want to change one of them. One of them we want to stay the same. One of them we want to switch between 1 and -1. So if we switch the wrong 1 to -1, what happens is the foot will go upside down. So one of them will change left to right. One of them will change our up to down. So how do we split our U and V? Well, that's what the multiply here is doing. We are going to do an append node, and we're going to append a vector. It's going to have 2 values. And so we're going to just put a constant, and we're going to default these both to 1 for now, because we need to work out which one it is. Now, I did this in my prep file, and actually, the person who made the edit to our foot here, which is a community member going by the name Linda She was with me when I did it, and I got it wrong, so I'm going to get it wrong here intentionally as well. Hint, hint. My thought was, well, it's going to be the V tile that we need to change. By the way, a faster way to test it would have been to change these values here. So I changed the V1 first to -1. Notice what happens. The foot slipped upside down. Now again, I could have actually just done this test right here without creating those nodes. See? So it's this first one we want to switch. And we want this one to actually default to sorry, let me put 1 back in there. We want these to default to -1 because we want this to start with the right foot. Now I'm going to promote this to a parameter, and I'm going to name this parameter my left right foot print. And I'm going to Control A to select all on that name and copy it because I need that name in just a moment. All right, so there is how we're going to control what footprint is going on the ground. I'm going to just apply and save that real quick. And then I'm going to go to my animations, go to my character and my first person admin blueprint. And on here, we're going to spawn our footprint. As I said in the last video, we're using this for something related to footprint. We aren't going to spawn the footprint on the rock. If you have a wet footprint texture you want to use for that, then go ahead and just add that off the false for what we're about to do. But we are going to check, are we walking on anything that isn't rock? And that's where we spawn our footprint. So we're going to put a branch in, and we're going to come back to this surface type here, And I'm just going to pull off of it and do exclamation mark equal, so not equal, enum. Is it not equal to rock? If it isn't equal to rock, then I want to spawn a footprint. I'm going to put a few reroutes in just so this is a bit nicer and neater looking. And I'm going to select all those nodes. And I'm going to put another reroute here. That's really just driving me up the wall. You know what? I'm going to get rid of that reroute and not do what I just did there. I'm going to select all these nodes. And I'm just going to move this to the right so it's a little bit more spaced. There we go. Sorry for the pedanticism there. Pedanticism? All right. Now, one of the cool tricks we can do is we know that it's always the right foot that goes first. That's really simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to spawn a decal. Now, we're going to spawn it and switch over what foot it's on. I'm not going to plug anything into the true for a moment. I'm just going to do spawn decal at location. Well, what location do I want to spawn it at? Well, I want to spawn it pretty much at our impact point. Keyword is pretty much. There's actually some changes we're going to make to this. So we're going to do a vector plus vector for those changes. Wow. Okay. Apparently I did something wrong there. Cool. Vector plus vector. And we will take the result of this, and that's where we're going to spawn in our footprint at. Let's just give this a default size of 1. It's not going to work, by the way, at 1. I already know this. All right, notice that our rotation is 90 here. So we'll pay attention to that in a moment. We'll set the lifespan for 15 for now. We will change that down the road. What we are going to do is we are going to create dynamic material instance. This is what's going to allow us to change between left and right foot. And we're going to pull off this return value and set scalar parameter value. So we have a scalar parameter in here. Why, I copied the name so I can paste it right into there. And what we're going to do, we are going to select between our left foot, which is the pick A, which is the B, which will be 1, and our right foot, which is the A, so pick A, which is -1. How do we do this? Well, we are going to do a bool variable. So B is right foot. Just give me a second here. I just want to see something. I like this better. I like the true false version better, as you've seen me say in other videos. So the true is the right foot, so that's -1. The false is the left foot, which is 1. Then both nodes do the same thing, by the way. It doesn't really matter. I just personally find this one easier to read. Now, how do we set this? Is it the right foot? Like I said, we always know that the right foot goes down first. So what we can do is we can be really cheeky and do a flip-flop, which I think is kind of funny to say when we're talking about footprints here. So we can do a flip-flop, and is A, okay, maybe I should have left the other one in for the is A over here, will always go first, then B, then A, then B, then A, then B. So if it is A, then it's the right foot. If it is not A, then it's the left foot. So we go either way into this. All we're doing with the flip-flop is setting this to true or false. Plug that into there. I skipped a very, very, very important step, by the way. And let's take care of that step before I forget about it, because it is massively important. I didn't set the decal. So it's our M footprint. Okay. So for now, actually, I'm going to break this, and I'm just going to go straight into the location. All right, so now that we're in location, all we're going to do is hit play, and we're going to test this out. Oh, okay. Where's the footprint? As I said, that wasn't going to work. The footprint's really small. Now, what's interesting is, though, I am not getting my sound effects. So I want to just double check something. I'm going to draw my persistent here. Okay, so it is seeing it's hitting the ground. Just give me 1 second just to make sure that this map isn't bugged real quick. All right, so my map is bugged, and this is an error I've seen before. So what I'm going to do is actually just really quickly, I'm going to fill the layer with the rock only again, and I'm going to hit play. And we're still getting default off this rock for some reason, which is a bit concerning. So go to our rock layer information. It does have a rock in here, and we do have rock type. I'm just going to double check that everything is set up correctly. So those are in there. Let's go over to our sound cue. Make sure our sound cue is still set up correctly. Right. I'm going to go over to my island map real quick and make sure the sound is still playing there. Don't save. There we go. The default was the water, by the way, because we haven't assigned a material parameter to that yet, or a physical material. All right. So I don't know what's going on with my materials test map. I have had glitches on this map before, but never like this. So I'm a bit confused, to be fair. I am going to just, yeah, I'm going to clear the layers and rebuild it real quick and see if I can get it to work. So I couldn't get it to work. I'm going to switch back to the island map, and one of the reasons, I'm not going to say this, by the way, I know it isn't working is there is a known engine bug that was fixed, but every so often it still rears its head, and with source control on, I also get some weird issues. So I'm not sure which of the two that is. We will use this map. We already know the footprint isn't big enough, so let's increase the size of this. Let's set this to an absurd number like 100. We don't need to set the Z axis, by the way, because, well, we will, just so we have it. We don't technically need to because it's a decal. So if I take a step, hey, there's my footprint. Okay, they're a little bit too big, and you should see some other errors with them. So let's decrease the size, and the way I went about doing this was I put a mannequin on the map, I put the decal on, and I sized the decal under the mannequin's foot till I worked out that it's somewhere between 10 and 15. I just went with 15, so it's a bit more noticeable. So we'll go with 15 here. All right. Actually, I want to leave it at 100 for a moment. I lied to you. I want to show you something. So with it set to 100, I want you to pay attention to. Look which way I'm facing. Turning around. Notice which way the footprint's pointing. It's pointing backwards. By the way, I'm leaving the persistent on, so when I do set it to 15, we can see where it's at. So it's set to 15 now. We know the footprint is facing backwards, so we have an issue with rotation. The other thing to notice is the footprints show up in a straight line. So by the way, they are still there. They're just really small. If I do Shift F1 and eject, and then very carefully, there it is. So you can actually still see it's on the ground there. It is a bit subtle, so I wanted to do it on the other map, but since that is giving me that old bug I haven't seen in ages, we're stuck here. So you might think, oh, it's this vector plus vector I have in here. Now, that's due to the fact they're in a straight line. Our rotation, like I said, is why the foot is off and why I pointed out that negative 90. So we're going to do try get pawn owner. From there, we are going to get actor rotation. By the way, I said we're going to do this in multiple videos. This part, the footstep prints in multiple videos, I lied. We're doing it in one video. We're going to break rotator, and we are going to then make rotator off the X. For our Z, we are going to rotate this 90 degrees. That way, we are facing the same direction as the character is facing. Otherwise, we're facing backwards, but now we can rotate, have the footprint show up in every direction. As for our Y, that's why I point out the 90, we're going to set this to negative 90 as well. All right, I am going to up the footprint size again back to 100 just for the purpose of showing you what's going on here now. All right, I hit play. Man, you think I'd have learned from the last video. I hit play. Notice the footprint direction is really hard to see, but there is a footprint there. I hope. I think I'm not seeing stuff. It's stretched. What did I type in wrong? Oh, the Z does need to be 100. I put 10 in. So Z does matter. I lied earlier. I thought it didn't. There we go. And we can see the footprint is now facing the correct direction based on our movement. So we now have it facing the correct direction. The next thing we need to worry about is the fact they're in a straight line. So what we're going to do is this vector plus vector here. Plug that into there. Plug the return into our location. And now just to make this a bit nicer and neater, because we are going to actually come through here now. What we're going to do is we are going to select a value to plug into here. Now, I did a lot of trial and error to work out what values I wanted to work with. So the trick to this is we take the is right. Sorry, I was checking the send or select node because I want true and false. And remember, our true is right foot, our false is left foot. So what I first did was I plugged a number into the true to see if I need to be positive or negative. I started with a positive number. Started with a really absurd number. I actually started with like something like 150. And I saw that put it really far to the right. So this is a positive number. I tested a negative number of 150 here. And that gave me, of course, the footprint really far to the left. So I confirmed that this is my left and this is my right. And this needs to be negative to move it to the left. And this needs to be positive to move it to the right. From there, I started with small numbers. I went from 10 to 15 to 20. And at 20, when it's still too close, I just doubled it. And I went with 40. And I had an entire video of us doing that. I was going to do an entire video of us doing that. That's a bit boring, and really, this could have been done in about a minute's time, like we just did, with my brief explanation of the testing process. Again, we're leaving the decal size at 100. Let's test this out. So I want to hear my footstep twice. 1, 2. And you can see they're not lined up. They look like they are kind of, mostly because we have that line there, but in reality, they're not. Notice the heel toe is just slightly off on that set. Now, this is the problem with this massive decal size. It's hard to see what's happening. So we're going to very carefully do it with the normal decal size. I'm going to walk towards the water this time. I'm going to hit Control F1. I'm going to eject. And I'm going to find my persistent points. Well, now if you walk down these points, where's the footprint? All right, well, let's face this way. I know that one should be to the right here. There's one of them. Interesting. That one's to the left a bit. Did I put the wrong numbers in? I'm just going to double check. Yeah, I put the wrong numbers in. I was wrong when they were at 100. It was me having tilted the character slightly. Let me try that again. We're going to jump so I don't make any footprints. Now we'll eject. And I'm going to start back here. Again, we know it's not going to be under that point anymore. So that should be to the right slightly. Well, let's see if we can find it in the next one. This one should be to the left. These footprints are always so annoying to find. There's the one of them. There's the other. It looks like I do have them backwards for some reason. Okay. So let's swap this around to 40 and negative 40. Okay. I don't know why this doesn't want to work the way it did previously, but cool. In my prep file, my previous recording file, it's the other way around. So I'm a bit perplexed. All right. Again, Shift F1, eject. And we'll start back here. Again, it's really hard to see on the mud ones. Yeah, I'm just going to go straight into the sand. There is the mud one. So it's to the left, and we have a left footprint. So the reason I'm saying it's to the left is it's to the left of the impact point there. A little bit farther ahead of the impact points, by the way. So this one should be on the right somewhere, right before the next impact point. always hate trying to find these things. There's the left one again. Oh, there's one of our right ones to the right. Okay. So yeah, they're a little bit of a joy to find, but that does take us through setting up our footsteps and our base environment. So that is everything we were going to do in subsection B of section 4 of the series. In the next subsection, we're going to set up our foliage, our grass, our trees, and some of our resources. So we are bringing some gameplay elements into it, like the sound, it's part of the immersion, it's part of the environment, the footprints, same idea, and gameplay elements of it, you know, the effects we have on our movement, and all of that fun stuff. Make sure to save everything. And all of that said, I hope you've enjoyed working on this. I hope you've enjoyed getting through the second subsection of the section 4 of this tutorial series. And if you have, make sure to drop a like down below. It really does help the channel out. And I look forward to seeing you in the next section when we work on finishing out our environment. We'll also be doing lighting in that section as well. Sorry, I forgot to say that. And if you want to be here when we do that, make sure to hit the subscribe and notify icon. Also, before I forget, considering that I am doing the outro, I am going to go back to my animations really quickly. And I am going to delete this print string stuff. We don't need it anymore. And turn off the persistent debug. All right. All of that said, I've made a note of this in an earlier part of the video. All of that said, this series has been brought to you by Patreon sponsors like Galois, Rian, Hanas, Quadmenson, Connor, and 1Vault10. I look forward to seeing you in the next subsection of this tutorial series where we work on our landscape in terms of foliage, trees, resources, and our lighting. All of that said, have a wonderful day.